Radhe Radhe, expecting you are all happy. Okay, now my today's topic of discussion is about ecology. Ecology, what the word ecology mean? Ecology, let us first see the etymology of ecology word. Okay, ecology is made up of two words. First, ecos, and second, logos. Both of these words are of Greek origin. The word ecos means the home, and logos is meant the scientific study. So, what we can see that ecology is scientific study of home, but of whose home? It is of the home of organisms. So, ecology. We define ecology as study of organism and their habitat and the processes within and between. We do study the home of organisms, the processes, what the organisms do between themselves, and what the organisms how they interact with their nature. Okay, next thing comes the labels of ecological organization. This scientific study, here we can guess that the scientific study of something can be done in a very structural manner. So we see that the what are the labels of ecological organization. As we know that the organizational labels mainly are of six type, but if we start from the scratch, that is start from atoms, and atoms making a suitable combination, creating the molecules, and molecules in turn give rise to cells. Cell is the basic functional and structural unit of life, and cell we can go for organelles, organs, and next thing comes the organism. After organism comes the population. Population will make to community, and the next level of ecological organization is ecosystem, and above the ecosystem comes the biome, and above the biome comes the biosphere. That is the living part of our planet, that is called biosphere. Okay, so we are going to see the basic description of each of organizations label. So starting from the individual, what an individual mean? An individual mean an independent living entity mean that can function independently. That is called an individual. After individual, we can also define the term species. What are called the species? Species, group of similar organisms. The group of similar organisms capable of interbreeding, that called species. And the next organizational labels is population. What the population mean? Population is the group of a especially same species living in a defined geographical area in the same area at the same time at a particular time at a particular space. Much how much in number the organisms of a particular species are found is called the population of that species. Okay, the next uh, things in population are affected by birth, by death, and by migration, and biotic and abiotic factors are also main limiting factors for the population. The next organizational labels comes above the population is community is group of different type of species located in the same habitat at the same time, and they interacting each other mean uh, in a particular habitat uh, a lot of species will be found, and these different species interacting each other, they make the community. Okay, the next level in organization of ecology is known as ecosystem. An ecosystem is? Okay, a place where living things and non-living things all hang out together and interact with each other. That is called an ecosystem. Okay, the factors, main ecological factors are biotic and abiotic factors. We are going to see the biotic factors first. What are the biotic factors? Biotic factors mean the living factors of the ecosystem. So, to study the biotic factors, we will have to just make it uh, divide. So, for our study purpose, we divide the biotic factors uh, in two categories. First categories is of functional attributes. Okay, on the basis of function, we divide biotic factors as primary food producers and second thing is consumers. Producers are the mainly plants and some fungi and bacteria. Uh, they produce the food in ecosystem using the sunlight and carbon dioxide and water. The plants mainly, and next thing comes the consumers. In consumers comes the living entities, organisms who they cannot generate their own food and depend on others, that is called consumers. So the there are some grazers like goat, buffalo, cow. They eat plants, and at the next level comes uh, the secondary consumers like jackal eating rabbit. At the next level comes the tertiary or carnivorous, that is called that lion killing a deer, and one more category is that is omnivorous, the organisms who eat both animals and plants like humans and monkeys. Okay, so what can we say in general that the consumers are of basically two types. So we can divide it in macro consumers and micro consumers. In micro consumers comes our herbivorous. Herbivorous are the organism who eat grasses, plants, etc. The, and the secondary consumers like deer is an herbivorous, uh, and like rabbit is an herbivorous, and next secondary consumers is a jackal or wolf eating that rabbit is called secondary consumers. At the next level in macro consumers comes the carnivorous like lion eating deers, you see, and the one more category that is omnivorous eating all. And at the second level, that is the micro consumers. Okay, micro consumers are what? Micro consumers are basically the decomposers and fungi and bacteria. Okay, So this was the biotic factors of an ecological setup on the basis of their functional attributes. So on the other hand, we are going to see the biotic classification on the basis of interaction. In an ecosystem, the living organism, in which manner they are interacting with each other, that is called the interaction, and this interaction is of types. Let us go by that. The first things come as neutralism. The behavior, the interaction is known as neutralism. What the neutralism is? Neutralism, uh, where the species are interacting, organisms do not affect each other. Like the in deserts, the uh, reptiles or the desert animals and the desert birds, they don't affect each other. That is called the neutralism. Second thing comes as competition. In an ecological system, competition is a very important factor. Competition can be of two types. That is, first is of direct interference type, like the crow and gecko, uh, inhibiting each other for their nests. And second type in competition is indirect resource competition. That is for a single resource like water, the plants uh, competing each other. Okay, and the next thing in the interaction type comes as amensalism. Amensalism is an interaction in which uh, two species interact in such a manner that one species is uh, got badly affected, but the other species has no impact. Like a long shaded tree and the small uh, hobbs living in that shade, the herbs living in the shade of that tree, they have the problem, they face problem of having sunlight, and the long tree, uh, that is of no effect. It can be really that the sec- uh, second species, that is the longer tree, of which in which shade the herbs are living, it can benefit, because if the herbs are unable to get their food and in turn getting destroyed, and by that destroyment of that herbs, it can, the big tree can have the nutritional benefits. And amensalism is an interaction that contributes to diversity of an ecosystem. How? The shading, the canopy of a big tree like oak, uh, like banyan, if it inhibit the sunlight to coming down in that of plenty manner, mean there can be a rise of the shading plants, the plants which are needed lesser lights, so contributing to biodiversity. And the next thing comes in an interaction type is that of commensalism. In commensalism, what happens that one species is benefited by the other, but the other species is of no impact. Yeah, that is called the commensalism. And the next thing comes in interaction, that is parasitism. In parasitism, one species is got connected with the other species and continuously takes its food, like tapeworms in human. Next is predation. In predation, we all know that biomass, larger biomass, or any species is got killed or hunted by another species. And in this, we can see the example of a lion hunting a deer, and yeah, also the predation is also when a deer or a rabbit graze the plants. That is also the predation. One biomass is getting eliminated by the other. Okay. Next things comes the proto cooperation. Proto cooperation is the something in which two species are interacting and they both are benefiting each other, but there is not the necessity to interact to help each other. They both can survive independently, like the flowers and bees. Bee gets its food from the flowers, and by uh, interacting with a lot of flowers, the pollination occurs that helps both the species. But this is not of mandatory. It can be or not. That's not a problem. But in mutualism, both species interacting with each other are necessity or needed for a better growth and better living. Okay, this was all about the biotic factors, and next we are going to see about a biotic factor. A biotic factor. A biotic factors of the ecosystem is the non-living entity. Non-living things are called abiotic factors. There is a lot, but of mainly we are going to think of seven types. First is of light. Light means sunlight. That is the primary source of energy in our environment. Light is the primary source of energy that is got used by plants after and in combination with carbon dioxide and water, giving rise to carbohydrate and all the things. And from here, the food chain starts by the herbivorous having eaten the plants and so on so on. Okay, light is mainly the blue light and red light are the most used spectrum uh, by the plants for making the food. Okay, a red light penetration is higher, and in water systems, uh, the red light penetrates more. And next things uh, comes as temperature. Temperature is essential, and also the temperature is should be of an range that is good for the survival of the organisms. Like we humans are best adapted in 15 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. Giving lesser temperature or being more temperature is not beneficial for us. That is the problematic. And the temperature also affect the flowering of the plants. Okay. And next, abiotic factors comes as water. Water. Uh, it is said about the water that organisms, not all, some organisms can live on the earth without the oxygen that are called the anaerobic organism, but not without the water. Water is very essential part of our ecosystem. Okay. Next thing comes as atmospheric gases. We all know that the be it carbon dioxide for the making food of the plants, and from their wheat, and oxygen, nitrogen, that is called fixed by the a lot of factors like the lightning, and a lot of microbes. Okay. And next thing comes the wind. Wind is also an essential abiotic factors. Mainly in ecosystem or ecology, the impact of the wind can be seen as the pollination of the plants, and moving of insects. It can, yeah. And wind is also responsible for the size of plants in the areas where there are high winds. The plants are of relatively smaller size, where the winds are not so uh, of higher speed due to just making the plant body stable. Okay. Next thing comes as soil. Soil is of very important factor for the vegetation, and the organisms, the microorganisms living in the soil. The temperature of the soil, the salinity of the soil, the water retention of the soil, all these things are of valuable consideration. Okay. And one more thing in our abiotic factors comes the physiographic factors, like what is the slope of an area, uh, which type of the land it is, and lot of things like lion and tigers cannot live in steep slopes. Okay, that is of abiotic factors. So we have seen the ecosystem. Yeah, I've got that. The next thing I am going to just think of the ecological niche. Niche of an organism is the role that an organism plays. It is an ecological address, like something that what role an eco, what role an organism plays in an ecosystem, what that organisms consumes, what it produces, how it interacts with the uh, other species, and what are the functions. That all things are comes in ecological niche. Ecological niche is a very important factor, and the different ecological niche contributes to uh, the diversity of an ecosystem. Okay. The next thing, uh, we have mostly done with our ecosystem. The next level of our organization of ecology is of bio. Biome is a large geographical area characterized by distinct animal and distinct plant community adapted to that prevailing climate and environmental conditions. And the biome is demarcated by the climatic conditions and environmental factors. Okay, biome. When we talk about biome, we there are two parts: uh, terrestrial part, and the second one is aquatic zones. We don't put the aquatic zones in the biome because uh, this is not something very much creating difference of climate and environmental, because the aquatic zones are mainly there is a water is the main factor, and so we separate it. And in terrestrial part we can see the tundra, chaiga, temperate deciduous forest, tropical rainforest, savanna, prairie, and deserts grassland. And when we talk of aquatic zones, we mainly see that the freshwater ecosystem, marine ecosystem, and freshwater ecosystem, and marine water system, and uh, the estuaries, coral reef, and mangrove areas. And the next thing, and the most highest level of organization in ecology is known as biosphere. Biosphere is the narrow sphere of the earth where the hydrosphere, lithosphere, and atmosphere interact to give the favorable condition to evolve the life. And in our earth, at our earth, how the biosphere is of in part, I we can say if we have an apple, then the thin part, the छिलका of apple, एप्पल का जो छिलका है वो उतना केवल बायोस्फीयर है, बाकी अदर चीज़ें हैं. Thanks. It was the basics of the ecology. Okay. In the next session, we will see the population ecology. Okay. Have a thought life.